to be paranoid, but I think the neighbors are up to something. This week's film zooms into the heartland of America, where a staycation in your own cul-de-sac may be a deadly mistake. Meet Ray, a young homeowner ambling towards middle age while doing whatever he can to just relax on his week off from work. Played with a zoned-out exhaustion by future two-time Oscar winner Tom Hanks, Ray just can't seem to unwind. And if you lived in this suburban neighborhood, I doubt you could either. Ray shares a property line with a new family on the block, the Klopeks, a group of midnight prowling, garbage-bashing, sardine-eating neighbors that just want to be left alone. Fanning the flames of Ray's new neighbor nervousness are Art and Mark, Rick Dukeman and Bruce Dern in a double dose of comedy, and slowly sliding Ray into full-blown conspiracy theories. Are their actions warranted? Well, you'll just have to watch and find out. Directed with a terrific horror comedy eye by 80s fave Joe Dante, and sporting a dazzling supporting cast including Carrie Fisher, Wendy Schaal, and Corey Feldman, this film will leave you wondering, what's worse, a bunch of bees or a foaming squirrel? So watch The Burbs and release your inner nosy neighbor. I know who did it! Pirate Pete, on social media, with the movie recommendation. Normally in my weekly videos, I give my own meandering rundown of the glorious and quirky plot lines of my favorite films. But when I think about this week's recommendation, all I want to do is quote it for 90 seconds. So here goes. No, I'm sorry. I meant no meaning yes. No meaning yes?
What? Yes, what? No, why?
This is war, Peacock!
I hated her so much that the flames on the side of my face, breathing, breathless, heaving breath, heaving. That's not 6. 1 + 2 + 2 + 1. No, it was only one shot that got the chandelier. That would be 1 + 2 + 1 + 1. Even if you were right, that would be 1 + 1 + 2 + 1, not 1 + 2 + 1 + 1. Fine, 1 + 2 + 1. Shut up!
I didn't do it!
Somebody help me, please. Will somebody help me, please?
You lure men to their deaths like a spider with flies.
Flies are where men are most vulnerable.
Who had the dagger anyway? It was you, Mrs. Peacock, wasn't it?
Yes, but I put it down. Where? In the study. When? I don't know. Before I faint, after I faint, I don't know.
Would anyone care for fruit or dessert? I'm gonna go home and sleep with my wife. So watch Clue and shake, rattle, and roll. Yes, I'll have the census taker's liver with a side of fava beans. Ooh, and a nice Chianti. You don't need to be an FBI agent to figure out that today's recommendation was quite the Oscar winner at the 64th Academy Awards. But for all you rubes out there with your good bags and your cheap shoes, allow me to introduce you to perhaps the greatest thriller of all time. Our story begins with razor-sharp FBI trainee Clarice Starling, played by former commercial actor Jodie Foster. When she's given the chance to interview notorious psychiatrist Hannibal the Cannibal Lecter, Sir Anthony Hopkins in his most well-known role, she jumps at the chance, only to be tossed about like a moth in a storm. As in previous videos, for me to tell you any more would be a crime as dastardly as, making a human skin suit. So I guess I better swallow my own tongue on this one. Oh, Miggs! With an eerie score, inventive directing by Jonathan Demme, and the great Ted Levine being just absolutely precious, this film will leave you wondering, Dr. Chilton, he gets him right. So watch The Silence of the Lambs, or it gets the hose again. Ooh, normally I'm all about movie recommendations, but this week, it's reading time. Let me introduce you to The Monster Show, a wonderful book about the cultural history of horror written by David J. Skoll. This book is one of the best I've ever read on the subject of horror films. It's not just a rundown of horror films. Oh no, this goes into the cultural impact they have, how the events of the world translate into horror, and how horror, like sci-fi, is a terrific way of addressing issues that people don't want addressed. Beginning with some of the earliest forms of horror entertainment in the 1800s and clawing its way through the 20th century, you'll put down this book after 400 pages with a new appreciation for this genre that all of us love so much. The best book about horror movies I've ever read, from Robert Bloch. Guy wrote Psycho. So read The Monster Show by David J. Scull. And keep the lights on. Are you telling me this film just goes on and on? Well, that's fine if it's about something, but nothing? Today's film rides out of the depths of imagination, across the plains of adventure, and into the stars of hope. My God, that's a lot of metaphors. Meet Bastian, a daydreaming book nerd who, ever since his mother passed away, can't seem to keep his feet on the ground. His egg juice drinking dad is not a fan of such behavior, so Bastian agrees to face reality and make his way to school on time. However, while evading a group of dumpster-tossing bullies, Bastian finds himself in an antique bookshop, presented with the temptation of a book unlike any other. Borrowing the book and escaping the mind-numbing rigidity of school life, Bastian hides in the school's horror show of an attic to immerse himself in a world that will change his life. Along the way, he meets a racing snail, a night hob, a rock biter, and the greatest young hero ever to grace the silver screen, the warrior child, Atreyu, and his beloved horse, Artax. Artax! Delving deep into themes that only fully bloom with the passage of time, this film is a guiding light for those who seek truth and wisdom through fantastical storytelling. Oh, and there's a kind of fun, kind of creepy dog dragon named Falcor, and I'll leave it up to you to decide what you think of him. I personally am a fan. So watch The Never-Ending Story and call my name. Oh, by the way, the name he calls Moonchild. Thank you, subtitles. Oh, and this is Gamork. He's terrifying. Good morning from Mackinac Island. We got a new Pirate Pete video coming your way soon. Ahoy! Ahoy! Ahoy, mateys! For the very first time, I, Pete, the Dead Party Pirate, am coming to you on location for one of my movie reviews. That's right, for this week's classic, I've traveled to the glorious vacation destination of Mackinac Island, Michigan, the jewel of the Great Lakes. For it was here in 1979 that the superb cult classic romance, Somewhere in Time, was filmed. This film stars the great Superman himself, Christopher Reeve, as Richard Collier, a young playwright who, after a breakup, needs an escape to get back on track. It's then that Richard travels to the beautiful Mackinac Island, which really isn't Mackinac in the movie, in order to stay at the Grand Hotel and re-energize his talents. While settling into his respite, Richard falls head over heels for a photograph of the beautiful and timeless actress Elise McKenna, played by the supremely elegant Miss Jane Seymour. Inexplicably drawn to the photo, Richard vows to travel through time in order to meet the actress in the past. And wouldn't you know it, he succeeds. I won't tell you how it's done, but I like it. And it's here at this spot where their two characters first sorta meet. See? They even put up a plaque. Nice view. Now, being a place where no cars are allowed, only horses and bicycles, Mackinac Island was the perfect location for a film that takes place in the early 20th century. Not only can you see the plaque at the location where Richard and Elise first meet, but if you take a jaunt up behind the immense Fort Mackinac, you can see the gazebo from the film. Yes, it's just down this path. Just take a little skipperoo and there she be. And while you're up at the gazebo, you can take in views of the beautiful downtown scenery from above. With a score by the iconic John Barry, superb performances from all the players, including supporting turns from Christopher Plummer, Teresa Wright, and Bill Irwin, not to mention a script by the great Richard Matheson, based on his source novel Bid Time Return, you will walk away from this film with a love of Mackinac, a tear in your eye, and knowledge that even heads-up pennies can be bad luck. So watch Somewhere in Time. And come back to me. Ooh, it's June 20th, 2025, which means it's the 50th anniversary of the best film ever. Meet Martin Brody, a worn-out city cop who's escaped with his family to the tranquility of Martha's Amity Island in the hopes of making a difference as a local chief of police. For reasons unexplainable, this New England summer paradise is being stalked by the foul maw of the sea's preeminent hunter, a great white shark, Carcharodon carcharius. Burying his fear of the ocean, Chief Brody heads to open water in search of the elusive beast, with snappy ichthyologist Matt Hooper and old salty dog Captain Quint by his side. Along the way, the three men bond, bicker, and busk a sea shanty or two, and are brought to life by the absolutely excellent acting trio of Roy Scheider, Richard Dreyfuss, and Robert Shaw. Now, I'm guessing most of you have seen this picture. But if by some horrible circumstance you haven't, I implore you, now is the time to finally watch it. And if you won't listen to me, then listen to Drew Barrymore, who told Turner Classic Movies' Robert Osborne, it's hard to pontificate about a movie that's perfect. And if it's good enough for Drew, then it's good enough for you. So get a bigger boat, grab some coffee ice cream, share a scar or two, and watch Steven Spielberg's immortal classic, Jaws. And remember, Hooper drives the boat, Chief. Who can make a sunrise stab you with a hook? I'll tell you who. Now, whatever you do before you watch today's recommendation, I implore you, get rid of any mirrors nearby, lest ye be tempted to summon the titular demon. We begin at the University of Illinois, Chicago, in which graduate student Helen Lyle, played with an inquisitive drive by the lovely Virginia Madsen, researches the urban legend of the Candyman, a demonic entity who appears and runs through anyone who dares say his name 5 times into a mirror. Now, yes, you could just not do that, and that's the end of it, but, don't you want to try it? Now, there is much mystery to this spirit's origin, but Helen is bound to get to the bottom of it. Especially when it appears that Mr. Candyman is up to no good and terrorizing the residents of the Cabrini Green housing projects. Creating a bit of buzz as the Candyman is the late great Tony Todd, prolific actor and horror film staple, whose ominous embodiment of the title character is not to be missed. This film had a few sequels, but I'd like to draw special attention to the 2021 film of the same name. It profoundly expands upon the Candyman folklore and does what horror truly has a knack for, shining a fictional light on real-world terrors. So watch The Candyman, 1992 and 2021, and, yeah, you know what? Get yourself a mirror and give it a shot. I'm gonna go for it right now. Candyman, 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 I can't do it. Baby steps into the video. Baby steps into the video. I'm in the video. We've all had anxious moments, and we've all dealt with people who challenge us, which is why you may find yourself changing allegiances with the folks in this film. Meet pompous but talented psychiatrist, Dr. Leo Marvin, who may know a thing or two about helping his patients, but a little less about keeping his cool. Dr. Marvin is played with an intense neurotic angst by Richard Dreyfuss, who you may recall from his time aboard a not big enough boat called the Orca. Just before starting his month-long vacation, Dr. Marvin meets his new patient, Bob, a charming and phobia-filled fella, played by everyone's favorite lovable misfit, Bill Murray. Bob has an uncanny knack for either bonding with folks or driving their serenity to the brink of insanity. As Bob slowly works his way into Dr. Marvin's vacation, vocation, and family, the conflict builds to a fever point, in which someone is bound to explode. Directed by the multi-talented Frank Oz and featuring a virtual smorgasbord of quotable lines, this film will teach you that if you have to scream, "I'm on vacation!" while you're on vacation, well, hell, you need a vacation. So watch What About Bob and take a vacation from your problems. Mini Jawses in fresh water? Now I've seen everything. Summer. River rafting, camp memories, and movies about bloodthirsty fish. You basically can't go wrong. Today's film proves that once a summer blockbuster provides a premise, just tinker with it a bit, and you've got a surefire hit. Or at least a cult classic. We begin our story in the holding pool of an abandoned military compound, where an underwater creature, or creatures, chew the fat with a couple of skinny-dipping, trespassing hikers. When said hikers don't return to civilization, a young investigator heads out into the wild to see if she can find them. With the help of a rugged, ornery woodsman, the two do discover what happened to the hikers, and stumble upon a megalodon-sized government conspiracy. Executive produced by the Pope of Pop Cinema, Roger Corman, directed by horror comedy icon Joe Dante, we've heard about him before, and featuring a fun cast of players, including sci-fi staple Kevin McCarthy. You're next! This film may have you thinking twice about your next river rafting trip. So watch 1978's Piranha, or Piranha, or Piranha, or any of the other ways the cast wants to pronounce the title. Honestly, it's kind of fun counting them all.